لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Who here, it's a bit of a depressing topic to start with, who here has been to the Chadderton Cemetery? So you've all visited that cemetery. I unfortunately visit it every single day because my mom passed away earlier last year. And, you know, there's many conversations. Often I'll go with my children, many times I go on my own. And it's a busy road, as you know, before you turn off right and go into the cemetery. And as you drive down the cemetery, firstly you come and you drive past the old graves, yeah? The very old graves. So some of them are like 100 years and some of them, you know, even older than that. Before you actually get to the Qabristan where the Muslims are buried. And so when you come, you know, so you drive past all the old graves and then you get to the Muslim graves. And, you know, my daughter, the little one, 7-year-old, she often asks me, Mama, how come these graves, there's nobody, you know, they're so deserted, there's no flowers there, there's nobody coming to visit them. And I say to her and she said, yeah, the Muslim graves, there's so many people there, you know, there's so much ronak there, obviously, you know, every few days there's a new person, there's somebody else being buried. There's visitors there, there's big janazas there and everything like that. And so she was comparing the old graves to the new graves, and she was saying, how come there's nobody here? And I said, she said there's no flowers there as well, and I said, because the people who passed away, they passed away about over 100 years ago. So even their relatives who would come and visit them, they've passed away as well now. So who's going to visit those graves? And, you know, we often say, oh, mashallah, you know, the Muslim graveyard, there's so much ronak there, there's so many people there and what have you. So I was saying to her, look, Zainab, you know, in another few years' time, you know, give it 20, 30, 40, 50 years' time, I go, this graveyard, this area that's designated to Muslims is just going to be like that graveyard where there's nobody visiting. It's going to be derelict. It's going to be abandoned. Yeah, because the people that are going there to visit their loved ones, they too will have passed on. And it's the fortunate ones where maybe the grandchildren or the great-grandchildren will probably come and visit. But I go in the times that we're living in, I don't think that's going to really happen. Because even the children, unfortunately, are not even remembering the parents or the loved ones that have passed away. So I was like having a conversation with my son a couple of days ago, and I was saying to him, I go, Ismail, look, of all the billions and billions of souls that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, and this was a bit deep conversation for him because he's 17-year-old. And I said to him, look, of all the billions and billions of souls that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, and He sent all of those souls at a designated time that He chose for them to come into the dunya in a physical form. And I said, look, the people that are on the planet now, whether we are in contact with them or whether they're on the other side of the world, the billions of souls that are having a physical manifestation and experience right now in the world, I go in the next 100 years, they'll probably be dead. Unless they're having some really great diet and nutrition and exercise, that there's a few of them that are still alive. But all of us are going to be dead. Every single one of us are going to be dead. And you know, your name won't even be remembered. You'll be completely forgotten. And you know, when you actually, there's a lot of lessons that we can learn from the graves where, the old graves, where you see not, like when we go to the Muslim graves, it's only one grave there, isn't there? But when you go to the non-Muslim graves, there'll be like 4, 5, 6 people, or names on that grave. And when you actually look at it, it's not in any order. So you've got the father who died, then it's one of the children who's died, then it's a niece who's died, then it's his wife who's died. It's all in different order. So we might come into the dunya in a certain order, but we don't leave in any order, do we? Not in the order that we would expect. We go in an order that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills for us. We don't know if we're going to go first. We don't know if our children are going to go first. Our grandchildren are going to go first. There's no age. There's no, you know, you walk past like on the same row as my mom's grave. There's teenage children and the babies, you know. So I was listening to a lecture by Sheikh Hamdi bin Isa, I think, if I've pronounced it correctly, and he was talking about a book that you probably all heard of, The Lives of Man. Okay, and have you heard of the book, Lives of Man? I have come across it, and I think I read it once briefly. So he was talking about this book, and he was saying that this life that we're in now, this life that we're experiencing, this physical life that we're experiencing, is not our first life. It's actually our second life. The moment that we're born to the moment that we die, this is our second life. And our first life is the one when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, kun, be, and we became beings. And in that realm in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said kun, and we became beings, we knew Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that spiritual dimension. Before we existed here, we knew Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in that realm, He took an oath, a covenant, and a promise upon us. And He told us, am I not your Lord? And we all declared, we witness this reality, and indeed you are our Lord. We couldn't deny it. There was no denying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that realm. He said kun, and we became beings. And we said we witnessed, we gave shahada in that realm, and we said there is no denying that you are our Lord. So that contract, that undeniable contract was put into our heart. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then sent us to this dunya, into this reality of cause and effect, where we make choices. Yeah, so this experience that we're having, this is our second life that we're having. Okay, so He gave us a body from this earth. He gave us, and that we could eat from this earth, and we walk upon this earth, and we're going to return back to this earth. And we're in an earthly body, but our heart is from a different dimension. It's from a spiritual dimension. And that promise, that covenant, that sacred memory which lives inside of each of us, which said, I witness my Lord, is there inside of us. And in this life, what is our task? Is to actually wake up. It's to wake up, and it's to reconnect back with that oath that we'd made to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To say yes, to remind ourselves that what we've forgotten. And you know, we'll do dhikr, won't we? And dhikr means remembrance. So if you're remembering, what does that mean? We already know something, right? We know something and we're remembering it again. Yeah. So our whole purpose, our whole task whilst we're alive is doing that dhikr, doing that remembrance, and reminding ourselves of that which we've forgotten. And that is our whole purpose. And we get lost in the dunya, don't we? We get lost with our problems and our worries, and you know, we think that this life is permanent and it's going to last forever, but it's not. It can be taken away from us in an instant, in a moment. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to wake up when the angel of death is standing before us. We want to rekindle that relationship that we experienced in our first life. Before we came in the dunya, we want to rekindle that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where there was no denying that He was our Lord. So we should try and come out of this state of ghafla, this state of forgetfulness and ignorance that we're in, and remind ourselves. And how do we do that? You know, if you look at the dunya, and there's so many distractions, we're constantly being distracted. It's in that moment of stillness when you still yourself, you still your mind, you still your body, you still your thoughts. And we try and find that connection deep inside of us, because it's there, that knowingness is there, that remembrance of who we truly are and what our purpose is there. And they say that, the Shaykh was saying that in that dimension, the spiritual dimension, so we need to firstly, we need to use our physical bodies and our intellectual capacities, and we need to wake up to have the spiritual experiences. And the spiritual dimension is vast. There's so many openings and there's so many awakenings. And they say that the Prophet ﷺ, in every breath, he was having an awakening. He was having a reality that was beyond this reality. Yeah? So we need to wake up, and we need to find that connection that is deep within us. It's there. This is why we don't find any peace in the dunya. You know, you'll think, when I get that latest gadget or that device or that car or that spouse or the house or whatever it is, I'll find that peace, but it only lasts for a short time, and then our heart starts feeling that yearning that something is missing. It's because it's reminding us that we need to go back to Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala, because finding Him, we'll find everything, and we won't need anything of the dunya to give us peace. So inshallah, you know, I would recommend everybody to take a trip down to the graveyard, because there's so much contemplation, there's so much that we can learn from the people who were just like us, walking and talking and speaking and with problems, and look at them now. They're in a place where they're maybe, you know, we make dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we make dua to them, that they are in barzakh of illijeen, and they're in a good place, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has wiped their slates clean, because He is the most forgiving. But we all know how in a state of forgetfulness we are, and you know, how many sins that we commit on a daily basis, and we need to at least show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we're sincere in finding that connection with Him. So I hope inshallah that you've benefited from today's reminder. Any benefit is purely from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and any mistakes are our own. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun ala al-mursaleen, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.